Welcome back to the Table Rush Talk Show, where we dive deep into the world of entrepreneurship, marketing, and personal growth. I'm your host, Misha Zvegensov, and today's guest is Deborah Coviello, founder of the Drop In CEO podcast and author of The CEO's Compass. An engineer by trade and executive whisperer by calling, she helps CEOs quickly get back on track so they can lead with clarity, confidence, and peace of mind, even in the messiest moments. Deborah, quick, welcome to the show.
Oh, Misha, it is my pleasure to be here. You and I have had some amazing conversations. I cannot wait to share some of my insights with your audience.
Okay, perfect. So let's get right into it. Give us the inside scoop. When someone brings you into the boardroom or leadership team, what kind of transformation are they really hiring you for?
Well, sometimes they don't even realize what it is that they need. I mean, when I walk into a situation, it is a bit deer in the headlight. They say, I need this. And then I start asking some well placed questions. And I said, oh my, do you realize you really need this? Because again, they're inside the cookie jar. They can't really tell. An example of this is I need to stay on the core supplier list. And my customer now needs me to get this certification, and they have exceeded their capacity or capability, and they're looking to me to do it. I said, fine, I can do that. When do you need it done by? 3 months. It's like, oh my God. You want a transformation in 3 months. Oh boy, some people take years to transform a culture, but that's what I do. I listen to what their needs are. I say, yes, we're going to get your certification, but you're going to grow in the process. And we do those things. But I will tell you, when they bring me in more often than not, versus just, hey, I want to grow and improve, it's, we lost a leader. We're losing customers. We're having a recall. And sometimes these organizations just wait too long, for which they are just stressed to the max. But my goal is to drop in and lower the temperature just a little bit through this amazing voice that I have and being able to see what really is the issue and reframe back to them. I hear you, I understand, and this is what I think. And with that, we build trust, and it's no longer deer in the hairlight and the headlight, but how can we move forward together? So that's my typical experience.
Amazing. You started in you started in engineering, you moved into operations, and now you're helping execs reset their leadership. My words, not yours. What was the oh crap moment or the spark that pushed you to become the drop-in CEO?
Oh, there's so many tentacles that lead us to the drop-in CEO, but it has started in a number of places in my career. Um, I'll tell the most important one last, but I will tell you as I moved up into greater areas of leadership, I was in the area of quality and operational excellence. So make things better, faster, cheaper, safer. Okay, I can do that. And I rose to leadership. But then along the way, maybe we acquired a plant or, ooh, I'm having a recall. Oh, this company, this particular division lost their leader. I've got to be their leader. I was just that person that could drop into a situation at any juncture, merger, acquisition, etc., and able to kind of deeply listen to the situation and just rally the troops and organize to get to a place of stabilization. Again, I hate chaos. And this was just became a superpower of mine because again, engineer, got to process a lot of information, a lot of data, and then be able to say, oh, here's our problem statement. What are the possible causes? What data we can get? Again, that's DMAIC methodology. Ooh, we can geek out on that. But honestly, it's that ability to move people. And along the way, my voice to be able to calm people and move people forward. Now, that's just how I was trained and wired. But it got to a place where I said, I'm not loving this anymore. So I went out on my own. I got kicked out of the nest. But the drop in CEO was somebody that left an impression on me. And when I was interviewed on a podcast about 6 months into my entrepreneurial journey, they asked the typical question. So, what is it that you do? And I say, well, I drop into situations, and like a CEO, I will assess the landscape and solve the business issue. But along the way, we elevate the capability and the capacity of the people for a lasting impact. And with that, you pull me out and you no longer need me. So I'm like the drop in CEO. And he says, "That's brilliant. Where did you come up with that?" And I said, "Well, it just came out of my mouth. I'm not really sure." But then I said, "Wait a second. I was 35 years old in a startup manufacturing company with private equity, and we were in trouble. And so they dropped in a leader, Mike Hodges, and I finally just reconnected with him after 20 years. Mike Hodges rolled up his sleeve and sat with myself and the operations leader, and we put together an Excel spreadsheet, sorted out the business issues, and made us feel more confident to be able to move forward. And then they pulled him out and dropped in a leadership team to take us public. But I remember how he made me feel. And I operate in the exact same way. So, through hard knocks and having to do the work, but also now how I present myself, that's how I got to be the drop in CEO, dropping into situations for highly aware leaders that are going through some kind of transformation. I can be their guide to get them through.
Ooh, I love that. I said, you're helping execs reset their leadership. And then I said, my words, not yours. I'm not sure why I said that. Are those your words or
But
is that accurate? Okay,
it
go ahead.
comes with, because here's what consultants might do, not all, but they may come in and say, okay, I need a food safety system or I need an EOS system. So you drop in, cookie cutter, put the thing in place, and then you leave. Now, mind you, some stay on for retainer, but what they may not do is elevate the capability of the leadership, because when you have a new level of performance, you've got new systems and process, you need to new accountability, you've got KPIs, all of that. Leaders need to develop new skills. You expand, you might have to have difficult conversations, no longer a mom and pop shop. You need new skills. And by the way, I've been a fractional COO, chief operations officer. I've had to coach up to the CEO of the company to handle a difficult situation that they were not equipped to, being mediator between them and their lead strategist. So I have to coach up on better ways of working and coach the team to understand how to perform at a different level, difficult conversations, how to influence, delegate, all of that. So, what comes with solving business issues also comes the coaching for a lasting impact.
It's good. Let's paint a picture. Who's the leader out there, maybe listening right now, thinking, this is me? Who do you love working with the most?
Ah, love. I love that you use that word, because honestly, when you go into a situation, you truly fall in love with your clients. But when I see this person, they're looking out a window and they're saying, I should be able to handle this, but I just now don't know what to do. And it's usually because the conditions have changed. They've been humming along, running the business, making the decisions, and then something changes where they're no longer equipped. They don't have the knowledge, the expertise, either themselves or somebody else. And they're starting to feel unsettled. And if I had to paint a picture of who typically has had that uneasy feeling, it can be a CEO, a president or general manager, or somebody in their C suite, the chief operations officer, VP of operations, and often the vice president of quality. Those people that are feeling the pain and uneasy and also have the awareness, I need help. They realize that and have the courage to ask for help. Now, typically, lately, it has been small and medium sized manufacturing companies on the order of 10 to $100 million. So they're at several inflection points in the stability and the growth of their business. They could be 25 to 100 people, again, growing. They've got great culture, great agility, but now they're starting to feel the growing pains of, I don't know if we can do this. We're starting to miss orders. We're starting to have complaints. And the foundation is crumbling because maybe it's not there. Those are the people through referrals that say, who do you know? I'm brought in, we have a conversation, I can get to know them, we build some trust, and we basically say, how soon can you start? Usually within the first or second conversation. It's about that deep listening and that intersection with that highly aware leader that's going through a transformation.
I like that thought that, well, I don't like the thought, but I do have it. I should be able to handle this. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's so much in that, and I so sympathize with that. It's a terrible feeling, but having a mindset coach of my own, it is a source of strength to recognize it and just say it's okay. because through your leadership and having that uncertainty, and I struggle with uncertainty. I'm an engineer. I got my I's dotted, T's crossed. I am celebrated for knowing everything. And when we get to those places of being uneasy and the old playbook no longer serves us, I start calling it the new CEO playbook. Again, CEO is the mindset wherever you're at in the organization. What served you in the past is no longer serving you. You knew how to get the results, you knew how to get the customers, you knew how to market, but something changed that maybe you didn't anticipate. And now it's not working and the wheels are falling off the bus. So I do suggest a different way of leadership. And it is the title of my new book whenever it's going to get written. But I talk about this and I talk about stop chasing results and start pursuing peace of mind. And peace of mind has things that you might not have thought about. A lot of it is investing in people and building up their capability because they're going to have your back. They're smart. But if you start investing in them, even though right now you're not getting the results, have the patience and discipline to close the gaps in people performance. And ultimately, you're going to get the results sustainably. So, those are the things that people are feeling. And I'm telling them it's okay, but just know there might be a different way to get back on track.
It's beautiful. Stop chasing results and start pursuing peace of mind. Do you remember when that quote dropped into your consciousness?
With help, because I kept talking about it. I keep seeing this time and time again. People are getting results and they beat the people to get the results. High five, stakeholders, shareholders are happy. And then what happens the next quarter that you don't get the results? Well, you start that hamster wheel again. You start beating people, working long hours. It's not sustainable because you're in pursuit of results. And what's happening is you lose your people because you burn them out. You lose because you're burnt out and can't lead anymore. And it's not a sustainable business model. And so I was talking about this and I was always talking about peace of mind because I want another thing that was popping into my head is the work that I do. The purpose of my work is to help people struggle less so they can spend more time with themselves, with community, with family, and doing the things they love to do. And so my job was to remove those barriers. And I just realized that if I could unleash the potential and close gaps in people's trust and performance and the human interactions, their potential becomes unleashed. And ultimately, you get to a place of peace of mind. So I was using these words, peace of mind. It's a state of being. It's got nothing to do with your P&L. And this coach of mine helped me put the two sections together. And I was saying, you don't want to chase results and you want, peace of mind. And he helped me with the word, but be in pursuit of. Stop chasing results and be in pursuit of peace of mind. Jeffrey Shaw, give him credit. He worked with me, and that was about 2 years ago. We finally came to that thing that I think really leaders need to think differently about: results versus peace of mind.
Do you see age as a function of this?
Wisdom, gray hairs, a few bullet holes in your flak jacket. Um, I thank you for that question. Age. I find that I'd rather judge by wisdom, and wisdom can come at any point in time. And I have received such great feedback and wisdom from my children. Even my eldest, he's 33 years old, just turned 34. And he's talked to me about, hey, mom, the reason why we don't have, some of these difficult conversations is because you avoid it like the plague. And he says, you're right. I hate conflict. And so we've actually have a healthy relationship because we're now having more understanding conversations about our different views of things. So coming to these conclusions is not about age, but it is time and service and experience and coming to a juncture that says, I got to do something different. Something's got to change. And that happened to me personally towards the end of my corporate career about 7, 8 years ago. I said, something's got to change because all my go-to, my playbooks, exercise, having an adult beverage no longer calmed me to deal with situations. Something had to change. So anybody that gains such wisdom at any point in their juncture, sometimes entrepreneurs 29, 33 years old, they also see something's got to change and I need to pursue something else. So a little bit of age, but more experience and wisdom.
Yeah, that's good. All right, let's be real. What are
Okay.
the, yeah, not that we're not. What are the biggest hesitations leaders have before bringing someone like you in? And what do you say to the CEO who thinks they should have it all figured out already?
Well, starting with the last question, you're celebrated for all these years because you did have all the answers. And that's how you rose to a level of leadership and responsibility. Congratulations to you. But I would like to, change the paradigm. And people that rise to those occasions really are about their potential because you've never been a CEO before, perhaps. And sometimes you say, I hate this imposter syndrome. It's all only a place of uncertainty. And it's how quickly can you be resilient in order to be able to know more or bring in people that know more than you. What I have found, and I talk about, have the courage to ask for help because I talk about the stages of, crisis. I, as a quality and a food safety professional, have dropped into many situations where we're in crisis, we're losing customers, we haven't lost people, but we could potentially harm them. It is a terrible place to be. And what I find is most of my clients will pull me into a place of chaos. I'll start with crisis being number 5. You're losing customers, you're losing employees. You want to move up to the spectrum to a place of chaos, firefighting. And that's where a lot of leaders thrive in because maybe they like to be firefighters or they know how to get out of these situations. The playbook got them through that fire, smothered it out. We survived another day. Well, that's not sustainable. I find that their pride gets in the way because they said, I should be able to have this. And I say, pride is a wonderful thing to happen, but it's also your demise because having pride is one thing. I know what I'm doing. I can get through this, but having the courage to ask for help is a source of strength, not a weakness. And I just think people wait too long. And then when they bring me in, it is high intensity. I am there days on site, maximum billables, because I'm now having to roll up my sleeves and actually do the work to get you to a place of stability. If you bring me in a little bit sooner, I can be on site just a little bit less, see what's missing, what the gaps are, and then guide you or work with you to shore up those gaps so you don't get to a place of chaos or crisis. So your expertise is to be celebrated, but you're not celebrated to know everything, but to be resourceful, humble, and bring in people at a juncture where you no longer can get to the next level.
Pride gets in the way. I heard you say that. Sometimes people are in denial. Someone's listening, going, oh, yeah, pride gets in the way. I'm not being prideful when they perhaps are. What does being prideful look like?
I mean, I see two sides of it. I mean, pride is, and this is from the compass, the CEO's compass. When I think about pride, though, I mean, pride is like I'm too proud to ask for help. I'd like to break down pride a little bit more into one's intellectual property, for which we are really proud of what we have done and what we have created and the impact that we have had. And I do find that we hold on to it tightly. And when we maybe as a new leader come into an organization, sometimes just roll up our sleeves and just start working, and we don't spend enough time getting to know the people. We need to slow down a little bit and understand what was the unique gift that that person had at one point in time. And you may not need it now, but when we spend time understanding their source of pride and expertise, we build a lot of trust. So that's one way of, prideful of what I know and what I can give back to the organization. But for a leader, at some point, your intellectual property and your capability and your know it all does get in the way, because then you have to say, what do I have? And what do I need to add on to what I have to be able to get to the next level? Again, you're not paid to know everything, but just know pride is wonderful. You can teach people that, you can share your legacy. Others can walk in your footsteps, but there's great wisdom in saying, I need to learn from others. I just got off a podcast with somebody else. You need to be a lifelong learner and expand. My coach, my mentor talked about expansion. Think about an expansion versus I fell short and I don't know something. This is an opportunity for me to expand and learn and move through uncertainty to maybe someplace I'll learn something, or by the way, maybe we will achieve something bigger than I ever thought. So,
Great perspective. What came to me as well, which I've been asking myself recently, is can I stay humble? Can I stay humble? And you said teachable. Can I stay teachable? But I've literally journaled those two questions to myself recently to make sure that I'm, Go ahead.
And I mean, I've just had a situation recently. I was a little upset. I have a website and we refreshed it, but I lost some functionality in the process, and I was a little bit upset because it was so important, my analytics. And so I started getting a little bit upset and realized that okay, I've got to find somebody to fix the back end of my website. So I have my analytics. I was being very short sighted and results oriented, and yes, it was urgent, and it got fixed. But then it was like, oh my company is growing it to a place where I can't just react to something that is broken. I might need to invest in a strategy for web health, website health on an ongoing basis. So now I'm at a place of like, who do I trust? How do I make that investment? Because I know in the end it's the right thing. I've never had to make decisions about this before, but now I'm faced with it. So my pride got the best of me. I'm saying, okay, I will probably need to invest because there's smarter people out there that will keep me out of trouble so that I can be confident and have peace of mind. My website is getting the right traffic and it's serving the people I know. So I'm just letting you know that I'm eating my pride right now, and I might have to make some big girl decisions real soon.
So good. Can you share a before and after story? Maybe someone whose team or company felt like it was spinning. You help them get their compass back.
Yeah. I mean, I've dropped into so many situations. Which story do I tell? Um, I mean, the one that I love to tell is when I dropped in as the director of quality for a global flavor company, and there were three plants, an acquisition in North America. And it was interesting. I got interviewed for actually a permanent position. I just left corporate and I said, I want to start my own business. But oh, by the way, Deb, do you want to come for an interview? And I said, yeah, 2 3 hour interview. It was wonderful. And I did get the job offer. And I asked why. I said, give me some feedback. I said, you weren't certified in this particular area. I said, okay, I couldn't check the box. They wanted somebody with that expertise. Fast forward 5 months later, they give me a ring and said, Deb, we need a proposal because we got this, and this going on. I said, but wait a second, I don't have that certification. I said, don't worry about it. What was happening concurrently was, again, three plants in North America. This particular site had just lost their director of quality. So they needed somebody to drop in instantaneous leadership, learn the landscape, and be able to function in a short amount of time. Oh, yeah, by the way, we were just recovering from a product recall. So you still needed to work with customers and make sure we didn't have any disruption in brand and service. And finally, shh, we're going to shut the plant down in about 6 months. So you need to also be there at a time to protect the intellectual property, and we're going to exit the people too. Well, talk about one's world upside down. I'm talking to the VP of operations here, and I was able to listen deeply. I said, I can do this. I can drop in. I know the role of a quality leader. I will do this, this, and this. And when you see the energy in their shoulders start going down and their head starts bobbing one way, we're in sync with each other. You knew that I struck a chord and he could trust me. Well, fast forward from that, we were able to finish off the results of the recall and instill customer confidence. I provided the leadership not just for that plant, but three plants, because in the process of announcing that we were going to shut down that plant and disperse the intellectual property to the other two, was to maintain trust with the people to stay on and continue to serve at the highest level, both service and quality, until the day we shut their doors and treated them with respect on the way out. That was a roller coaster that should have been about 6 months, wound up being 16 months worth of work. And I can say that I stay close with this chief operations officer, the VP of ops, and a lot of the people thereafter, and even the plants that we distributed to. That was the first proof that I had that I said, I got this and I understand that landscape. So it was a crazy ride, but I am forever grateful for having those experiences and being able to serve others in the same way.
Beautiful. I'm just envisioning the person you were helping. I imagine the stress,
Mm,
to see somebody just like, ah,
it is. It's that way. I have that effect. And I mean, I just acquired another client and they also said, by the way, Deb, we need to get a food safety certification. I said, oh, how long? 4 months. I was like, oh my God. okay, I will see what I can do. But I sympathize with them. I said, this is what it's going to take. This is what I believe. I can drop in about 2 weeks, meet with your leadership team. And on the weekend, the calm came down. And again, we still have to do the work. It's going to be a roller coaster, but I just have this way of at least hearing them, showing empathy. I'm saying, oh my, inside, but never let them see me sweat, and we'll sweat through this together. I just lower the temperature, calm, and then we can do the work without being hurry scurry.
It's almost like you are able to give them the confidence to know that the next indicated step or the next steps that are required are going to be handled. It's going to get done. Might be bumpy still, but hey,
Yeah.
yeah, is that a good way to say it too?
It is. I mean, we're always going to uncover. It's like, oh my, I didn't realize we don't have anything in place to close this gap. What do we do? So we figure it out along the way. I remember one client that I had who I served. I helped them maintain a particular food certification. And they says, oh, by the way, the customer now wants me to develop a whole environmental health and safety program. And I said to him, sure, but I've never done that before. And he said, don't worry, we'll learn together. And so instilling that confidence, knowing that it's going to be bumpy, I found a way to get the systems and information in place, and they submitted to the customer. At the end of the day, again, they remained a viable supplier on their core supplier list. That's the peace of mind, knowing he'll have steady opportunity to quote work by me providing, again, another framework to give the customer confidence. Again, the greater outcome is not just solving a business problem, but giving clients and customers the confidence because you now have got certain programs and systems in place. I do that time and time again.
You said you're hanging out in the manufacturing niche a lot, small to mid size.
Mm-hmm.
To show the power of podcasting for referrals and networking, are you open to a couple quick questions in that regard?
Fire away.
Uh,
It is near and dear to my heart. Podcasting is a major part of who I am and what I do.
Amazing. I have a friend, his name's Jeff Severson. Jeff, if you're listening to this, hello. But he works for a factoring company, a finance company, non-traditional, or I don't even know if I'm saying it right. You know, you get to the big banks and they help the big companies, but oftentimes there's the small growing fast manufacturing companies that need financing to to be able to grow and scale.
Yeah.
So he does factoring, which I guess, or not I guess, that is financing on accounts receivable. So in effect, the factoring company buys your accounts receivable. So you, the manufacturing company, can get that money and then re-inject it into your business sooner instead of having to wait
Mm.
60 days, 90 days, stuff like that. Does that make sense?
No, it absolutely does. I mean, I've heard of those things. So you can get your money a little bit quicker. Might come at a price. On the other hand, you have to be think long term. If I can get the cash now, I'll be able to grow, produce more, get the income versus worrying about how am I going to even pay for this to begin with. So yeah, it's a real problem for manufacturers.
Absolutely, and especially if you're growing because your if it's cash intensive or resource intensive and your orders are scaling up, maybe your orders are scaling faster than the income that you're getting. So,
Absolutely. You're
and
paying
then
for that inventory, those resources and raw materials or data or whatever it is. So it is a cash flow conundrum because you need to pay up front or within 30 days or less. And you may not receive for 30, 60, 90, sometimes 120-day terms, depending on how you negotiate it. It is definitely a challenge. Yeah.
indeed, so Jeff is gifted at this. He helps those small growing, you know, $5 to $10 million manufacturing companies that are trying to scale quick and grow their product. And also, so for example, he has a client who just got a what's the big warehouse one that everybody knows? Costco?
Amazon.
No,
Yeah.
Costco.
Yes. Go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Costco. Um, excuse me. So they just got a whole bunch of orders from Costco, but Costco doesn't pay. So Costco says, yes, we want to have your product. And so then you got to go make the product so you can get it into Costco. So you get financing to actually make the product. I can't remember what he calls that. But anyway, Jeff is gifted all that. He helps customers grow. And then ultimately, when you get past that receivables financing and all that, then you end up at the big bank and they lend you money with lines of credit, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Is that somebody that's worth you talking to?
So, in what I do, it's not necessarily me just trying to get my next client, but a lot of what I do is introductions and trying, because even on my podcast, I will bring onto my show people that I think are interesting resources that can help C suite leaders at a juncture that they need help. So, cybersecurity people, IT people, AI people, logistics people, I will bring these experts on so I can build a relationship and build trust to say, okay, if somebody ever needs that, I know somebody. People that look into acquiring companies, setting them up for sale, I bring those people on. They may not be the CEOs that I can serve, but great service providers. So long, long story short, yes, they're very interesting because you never know. Once I build trust with somebody that can solve that problem for manufacturers, I'm in and out of them, and I see the other issues other than just quality. And I actually have one that's having a little bit of a finance issue, but they have a private equity company. This would be a very interesting person to have in my network because, again, I can refer them, and as long as I can help somebody, I'm doing paying it forward and doing some goodwill.
Awesome. The power of podcasting in action, everybody. All right, let's dive into your CEO's Compass book a little bit. In the CEO's Compass, you walk readers through 7 key points. Can you give us a sneak peek of one that tends to surprise people or get overlooked?
I will mention too, just to kind of put it in perspective, on the compass, there's always like a true north or a northernmost compass point. I do put peace of mind at the top, the northernmost part, because ultimately we're trying to get back on track and navigate towards peace of mind. There are typical ones, people, process, platforms, etc. But I did add two compass points that were came from my experience, and we did talk about pride. Pride is one of them. That's the east compass point. But another one is the past, and that's my west. I find the compass point of past is critical in understanding the rich culture or experiences of people or entity that come into our ecosystem. So often in a company, maybe we buy a smaller company, maybe we get a new team to join us. I have learned through making mistakes that sometimes we acquire these people, we bring them onto the mothership, bring them onto the team, say, here's our charter, and let's go. And I have had direct experience in that situation when we acquired a company. I focused on getting to know the people and what made them special and what was their culture about. And with that, I got tremendous resiliency and trust. So when we went forward with the acquisition, we never disrupted the customer. And those people that didn't pay attention and treated it just like a project, they experienced a lot of negative issues associated with the customer relationship. I went to the plant that we acquired and understood the people's gifts, what made their culture so good. They were agile, they had each other's back, they were resourceful, and they just had a can do attitude. That's why I love these small companies. And because I cared enough about who they were, I said, what could I bring forward from this rich culture that I can learn from and then introduce them to the new team? When we went live on, SAP, they trusted me. They were extremely resourceful. They navigated and found people to answer their questions so they could get through the lumps and bumps. But then in the process, I said, they've got a better food safety program than these. What can I do to leverage their expertise and have them audit over here? I find that when we do these things where something's got to change, I say nay to that. Let's not talk about change management. But what can we bring forward from one's past, take the best of what people have or where they came from and add to or evolve it. And then it's more of an evolution, or how can I improve or build on what was already good so there is no sense of loss? Past is one of the compass points that has served me well. And I say to leaders, you might want to consider that as a critical compass point in case you are off track and maybe you didn't do that well in the beginning.
Mm. Peace of mind. I want you to riff on what I'm going to tell you for
Okay.
45 seconds. So when I hear
Awesome.
peace of mind and a leader or a CEO is losing his peace of mind, I'm seeing that reflected in his wife and him or her, or their key relationships are deteriorating, their health is falling apart. Perhaps they're overweight. They have no exercise regime. Kids are perhaps not a fan anymore. We're seeing all this deterioration in all aspects of their personal life, health, wealth, not wealth, maybe health, relationships, things like that. As we clean up our peace of mind, that cleans up too.
Yeah, I mean, I hope nobody ever has an acute situation where hospitalization, loss of life, or something forces people to pause and reflect about what needs to change. Just know we're on this world a short amount of time, and you see so many bad things happen in the news for which people have these euphorias and change their life and find faith in all of that. I would just say, please, please don't wait for those junctures. If you are unsettled, and I was once too in my last corporate job. I just couldn't settle down. I was always busy, 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 working harder. And yes, my family loved me. They were supported all the way around, but I wasn't giving enough of myself. I was at a party one time. I talked to an acquaintance or a friend of my daughter's parents, and I said, when I walk into a room, what do you see? I just want your honest feedback. And they said, well, it looks like you're really busy and you're doing well with your work. I said, but you're not present. And I didn't understand that. And then I realized, wait a second, I'm not present for people that I'm there. And I had a little bit of an aha moment. But what I say to people is before getting to an acute situation, if you are already in a crazy place or state of mind, start taking control and making some incremental small changes in your life, whether it's just getting a little bit more sleep, whether it's just starting to walk after dinner, or I am going to close the laptop at 5 and drive home and decompress. You got to start doing a couple of things. And I did find once I got kicked out of the nest, I would call that an acute situation, but I still had my health and my family. It forced me to slow down and stop and listen to podcasts and walk and read, and all of that pause that was forced upon me. And it was okay. I had a runway. It was the best thing that ever happened to me, because then I started sorting through what was important, what I didn't want with my life, and what I wanted going forward. And so I impress upon leaders, even if you're not having a terrible situation, or even your family, you need to be disciplined enough to just parse out a little bit of your day, close that door, no interruption, write things down, reflect. You got to do it before it's too late, because I see so many people getting burnt out, and I don't want that to be you. So, peace of mind. You
So
need
good.
to, so getting back to your question, you're only going to get to peace of mind if you just slow down and think about, what does peace of mind look for you? If you think about your children maybe getting their diploma, walking across college, and they got a job, you can say to yourself, like, okay, I've done my job. They're on their way. And I think you've had this a little bit with your family. You've made some decisions, knowing that they're becoming productive citizens of society, and they'll still always need you. You actually get in that moment a sigh and a moment of peace of mind. I've done my work. My work is done here. And I can give some examples about how I've seen that also in the workplace. But just know and reflect on those moments you have felt peace of mind, and see if it can translate into other areas of your life.
It's beautiful. Peace of mind as a leadership advantage.
Yeah.
How can someone measure that or know they're getting close? And I think we just touched on that a little, but
But I will give another example. And this is one of the things that I've learned the hard way. Actually, I learned this from an auditor. So often we measure performance in, reactive or lagging indicators, like what went wrong, how many corrective actions how many new procedures can we put in place, how quickly can we improve something? And we never measure like the leading indicators, those things. Well, how many near misses or how many improvements did we put into our process before something went wrong? We never measure those things. And so, what I can say to you is start measuring peace of mind moments. And I had one in manufacturing about 20 years ago, when we had a customer quality issue for which we had to recover, get our lumps and bumps, but then create some safety videos or training videos to teach the future on how not to do something or the right way of doing something. And we had a senior leader in frame that I was videotaping to say what to do and when. And the operator technician started bouncing into the frame. And so it was disruptive a little bit. We stopped filming, and I said, do you want to be in this training video? And they said yes. And when they came into the video and I asked them, talk to me about this process that we've adopted, they talked about what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they're doing it, and what is the impact on the customer. And in those moments, I had a moment of peace of mind because all the work and all the communication and engaging our workforce, the people closest to our customers who are going to protect our customers, I realized in that moment, we did everything right. And that the people are going to take care of your customers and us. That should go on your peace of mind scorecard because you know you've gone full circle and you can actually sleep at night. And measuring how many sleepful or restful nights can also be an indication of peace of mind.
Beautiful. Quick hits time. I want the first answer that comes to mind. Ready?
Ready?
Favorite leadership book.
Oh, by Dory Clark, Stand Out. It's all about having your own personal brand, knowing you've got a gift and putting it out there into the world. Stand Out by Dory Clark.
When did you read it?
Oh my goodness, 5-ish years ago at the beginning of my journey, she was part of what made me realize I've got to build a personal brand and what I have to say or think matters.
How did you find it?
Oh, again, learning. I was lost. I had taken some time to actually listen to podcasts, get active on social media. I found her and read all three, four of her books. And guess what? I finally had her on my podcast. And it was one of the best podcasts I ever had. And she's a genuine person. But to finally have somebody that inspired a change in what you did and realizing I can do this being an entrepreneur, and then finally getting the person in that fandom on my show was a great closure for me.
So good.
It is
Morning, yeah, morning routine must have.
coffee. Uninterrupted, quiet time with nobody. And if you walk into the room, don't talk to me because it's my most creative time and what my day is going to look like. And I might write an article, think about my day, plan when I'm going to go to the gym. Just don't talk to me for 45 minutes. Let me get through my coffee and then I will chew your ear off and I'll be ready to go for the day.
Amazing. One word to describe your leadership style.
Very caring.
I love that.
Just very caring. I care about the people to not struggle as much and get them to a place where they can perform and feel good about what they do.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yes. Most impactful podcast episode you've hosted? I think I already know the answer.
That I've hosted?
Sure. Most impactful podcast episode you've hosted for your podcast. Yeah.
Oh my God, you want me to pick from over 500 episodes? This is so challenging for me because I get so inspired by every person on the show. I am constantly surprised. I get shivers from the people I speak with. Um, there's a few people, but I will also say Jeffrey Shaw. Jeffrey Shaw was the person, the podcast that I listened to. It used to be the Creative Warrior, then it became the Self-Employed Life. I read all of his books. I took his course. I listened to hours and hours of his podcast. And then ultimately, I got on his podcast and I had him on my podcast. And he said that's the best things about me because he was following me. He truly cared about me and my journey and shared my gifts. It was like, oh, I was supposed to be doing you. But it was just another full circle, somebody I cared about and I followed and I learned a lot to have them come back onto my show and I shined a light on them, but then also to acknowledge how they got inspired by me and to keep going. There's so many out of that 500, but that's one that really sticks out with me.
Beautiful. I am inspired to go track down Dory Clark and Jeffrey Shaw. Maybe you'll do an
I
introduction
can
for
if you
me.
want. Absolutely.
Amazing.
For sure.
Go to stress relief activity.
A little bit is music, but I will say when I am at high stress, I have to jog or run because while I always say that I hate running because it's just such a slug to get through that first mile and a quarter for me. And I have run 2 half marathons in 3 hours and 15 minutes. I did it, but I will just say that there is something about getting the body moving and unleashing some of that negative energy, but then also the positive energy of just moving your body and then finally getting into flow and your stride, and sometimes getting new thoughts or clarifying thoughts. So if I've come home from the gym, I'm no longer in a bad mood. My husband gets the other Debbie. By the way, I'm a Gemini. I have two personalities. Running and exercise absolutely de-stresses me.
I love it. I love it. I lumber. I'm a lumberer.
Well, I don't say
Jogging.
I run fast. I just move.
Yes. Okay. Dare to share where courage meets curiosity and truth bombs are welcome. Are you ready?
I'll try to be as fast as you fire them.
Okay. What's the quirkiest habit you have that someone makes? Oh, what's the quirkiest habit you have that somehow makes you a better leader?
I'm not perfect. I flub my words. I mean, I used to correct. I used to like, oh, sorry, excuse me. No, sometimes I twist my words up, but sometimes my brain is going faster than my mouth. And so okay, I don't go back and correct anymore. I used to say, sorry, what I meant to say was that, you get the whole package. You get my thoughts. I get it out there. I'm a mislabeled extrovert. People say I'm an introvert. Just sorry if I mess up my words. I'm not perfect, but I am trying to get a message to you or connect with you. And I think that's more important than perfection.
It's good. Ever had a total leadership fail? Like, I can't believe I said that level?
Leadership fail, but also the greatest thing that ever happened to me. Because I had a leadership fail where I delivered a presentation that was completely different than everybody else. It was at a critical juncture in my leadership journey, and my region was not doing well. And I delivered something completely different than what everybody else had did. And when I was done, I tell the story all the time. My senior leadership said that was very nice, but you didn't spend enough time getting into the details. And I was completely deflated. And I felt like a complete failure. And I had some people talk to me afterwards that you should have run that by us. So I felt that was a failure. But later, I got validation from my teammates that said, we love what you did. If we need more leaders like you. And if we keep having leaders that do the same old, we're going to get the same result. We need more leaders like you. So I would challenge people that if they feel like a failure in the moment, look around and actually see if it was a failure. Or did you expand or grow in the process? And who did you really impact in the process? They may matter most than the naysayers.
What's your guilty pleasure podcast?
Oh, wow. Forgive me. I am going to go back to Jeffrey Shaw, because not only does he interview amazing people and authors, but he will also at least once, twice a month offer his unique insights. He's an entrepreneur. He's been on the journey all his life. And every single time he comes up with a nugget that I can turn and internalize myself, either validate, yep, been there, done that, or I can try something new. I do listen to several, but I keep coming back to him. He was there at the beginning of the journey and he's still there with me.
Any true crime or like trashy buy this product kind of a thing, you know?
Um, No, the other podcast I listen to is mine. I'm sorry because
It's
I am actually behind by about 5 or 6 podcast episodes, but I do listen to every single one that I record. And people say, "Oh, I don't have time," but I listen to them because I will tell you, as a podcaster, yes, you hear your guests, you're shining a light on them, you remember what they said, but when you listen as a listener, it is a completely different experience because now you're in the listening seat and you're listening to the insights again. And you get re inspired or hear things that you didn't hear while you were trying to moderate. And I get so inspired by listening. And I always connect with my guests afterwards. Hey, I just listened to your podcast. Really, really appreciate it. I'd love to connect again because that's the power of podcasting. My guilty pleasure is my own, because I'm not egotistical. Yeah, I like my voice, but it's the insights and the feeling that I get after listening to it. So I got a lot of windshield time going to Chicago next week. I'm going to be catching up on all my podcasts. So I'm sorry. I like the Drop In CEO podcast. It's pretty cool.
if you could if you could drop in anywhere in the world right now, no obligations, where would it be and why?
Oh, I do have a fondness for Europe. I have had the opportunity to go to a vast place and in a very short amount of time be able to go from country to country and experience different cultures. I've been to Italy to France to Germany to Austria, and every time it's just a wonderful experience watching the people, seeing the culture. And my eldest son Dan and his wife are in Zurich, Switzerland, so I enjoy that part of the country. Love Ireland, love England, but I have a fondness for Europe. Again, I've got heritage from Austria and Czechoslovakia, and I just love that culture. It's different. I also appreciate the American culture, but that's my answer, and I'm sticking with it.
Okay. What everyone wishes would be asked, but isn't. So, this is the part of the show where I'm going to ask questions people wish someone would ask them, even if it makes your toes curl a little. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Hey, me, listen, I said yes to this interview, so I've got to be ready. So here we go.
Have you ever had to fire someone who reminded you of you?
Oh, yes. It was terrible because I was an early manager and I had to fire them because they didn't perform. And that person said to me, he said, just tell me what to do. And I realized I first had a team of people that I didn't have to tell. And when one employee really needed more direction, I wasn't there for them. So I actually was probably the reason. And I will tell you, I too have been frustrated and fired because my leadership wasn't there to tell me or guide me on what to do. So I've experienced both sides and it's terrible. It's just terrible.
What do you secretly wish people in your industry would stop pretending about?
Well, stop thinking about the bottom line and not investing money because I'll tell you, um, stop pretending to be like short-sighted. Oh, we don't have the money to invest now. Let's wait, because I just see the trend over and over again. You don't take the time to invest in resources or money, you're going to be paying an awful lot later. And the leaders that I love to work with see that and bring me in sooner. And the ones that are very short sighted, like wait and wait and wait because they don't want to make the investment. It's the same thing with an entrepreneur making the decision to invest when maybe there's a cash flow issue. Don't be so short sighted. Trust your gut, see the future, invest now, or it's going to bite you in the end and cost you more.
What's the hardest truth about leadership that most people aren't ready to hear?
It is lonely because it's hard to make certain decisions. You don't know who to trust sometimes. Building a circle of trust and advisors to be able to make that right decision and having the courage to make it. I was in a food safety recall. It was a tough decision. There was a lot of pressure to not do the right thing, but having the courage and as much information as you can to do the right thing um, was hard, but I can sleep at night. So it's lonely. Find resources and find trusted advisors.
Yeah. What's one thing about you that would surprise even people close to you?
People close to me know me pretty well. Um, oh God, just fun facts. I got my amateur radio license when I was 8 years old. I took the novice test. I think my parents helped me with the theory. So I actually had a ham radio license at like the age of 8 years old. They thought I was a prodigy. I was kind of a smart kid. And then the other thing is I was smart kid. They skipped a grade. I skipped the fifth grade, went right from basically fourth to sixth grade because I was smart, talkative, and was no longer challenged and starting to slip in the school system. So I'm a young buck. I graduated college when I was like just turned 21 because again, academically, I needed to be challenged.
It's good. I think these days about what are the things that would surprise people even close to me. I'm trying to be more and more transparent with my thoughts with
Okay.
the people that I know that like my closest inner circle. And I tend most of my life I've tended to let you know what I've done versus what I was thinking,
Oh,
right? So to try to include people more in my thought process, like those close to kids, relationships.
yeah. I mean, if I could just respond again, if just to understand the question a little bit deeper, is I may have followed the path of being, a technology person, manufacturing, highly technical engineer, being able to solve problems because I was smart. I could do it. I was good at it. And that's how I was celebrated and got compensated. But I honestly believe when people say, Deb, we can't believe how you reinvented yourself out of corporate, being the entrepreneur, the drop in CEO, a podcast, a book, the whole bit. And I secretly say, I rediscovered who I once was because I was a creative. And sometimes I cry about it because I was sung, I danced, I talked my parents' ears off, I talked the teachers' ears off. They told me to be quiet. I was selling things, I was doing arts and craft, magic tricks, anything to make a buck. I was always thinking and creating. I am in my best place when I am cooking or I'm doing something for our curling club because I'm trying to create an experience. I am a creative through and through. And I guess maybe I've held that back, but podcasting has enabled me to be a creative storytelling, story writing that I could do that day in and day out. Being in that flow space is where I'm really got my zone of genius. So maybe telling people I'm really an extrovert and a creative is probably something I don't share with a lot of people, but I am doing that a lot now.
Beautiful. Our voice. I was on your podcast earlier and you said, man, our voices, we are just going to draw people in. Tell me about
Mhm.
your voice or what do people say about your voice or what do you know about your voice?
So I got an early indication about my voice while still in the corporate structure when a quality leader came to me and said, Deb, you just have a way whenever you drop into these meetings, your voice is so calming because it's kind of hectic and crazy and customers are upset and people are yelling at you. I just have a very calming voice. So again, like anything, oh shucks, okay, sure. Oh my goodness. Fast forward into the podcasting realm and being in these Zoom bubbles and meeting everybody. 9 times out of 10, people would say, Deb, your voice, oh my God, you've got a radio voice. You got an NPR voice. You need to do something with this voice of yours. And I realized that. So, one, I finally recorded my audiobook of the CEO's Compass. That was thrilling. Use it as a superpower, again, to draw people in and build trust. Any opportunity I can to use my voice to connect with humanity is an opportunity. It's a gift. It's an enabler to build those relationships. I'm constantly looking for ways to monetize it. On the other hand, it is a means towards creating a relationship that ultimately might generate something of value in the future. So that's how I look at it.
I love it. We're going to hit stop here. Before I hit stop, inevitably, when I'm done with the podcast, I'm like, oh, I meant to say, or I wished I'd have said, or something like that. Before I hit stop here, before we hit stop here, anything coming to your mind?
The first thing I just want to say is the beauty of the network. Never, I definitely somebody said like your net worth is based on your network. Um, I'm here today with you due to an introduction from Mitko Ivanov, who is a kind, caring person that believes in the platform of podcasting to build relationships and enable entrepreneurs towards their strategies. A big shout out to him because of him and because of others. Um, Invest in your network. If you're in a corporate environment, haven't hung your shingle and become an entrepreneur, I highly suggest invest in your network, old and new people now. The worst time to start building a network is when you're kicked out of the nest or have to make an acute transition. And then you're looking around and it's a lonely place again. Podcasting, networking events, who should I know? Who should I be introduced? Oh my God, it's one of the most rewarding parts of what I do. Be in it for the long game, be very selfless and giving. It may pay dividends in the end, trust me.
Amazing. I actually have one more question.
Okay.
Earlier you talked about your big turning point, the moment that led you to become the drop-in CEO. I can't remember who that was, but it was your first experience where with a drop-in CEO. If you had the CEO's compass back then, what part of it would have helped you the most in that moment?
Oh, wow. God, you asked the greatest questions. I don't think I was even mature enough to appreciate the CEO's compass. I was 35 years old. I had risen to be the quality director at a young age. I had 2 kids at home and wasn't getting any sleep. I don't know if I could have appreciated the compass, but I would have appreciated somebody giving it to me and say, here it is. You'll realize the value later on. And I think the thing about the compass that I realized again was that stop chasing results, pursue peace of mind. It is a better state of being, it is a state of mind. And understand that it's not about people, process, and tools and what can we throw money at to fix things. Invest in your people, unleash their potential, and you will ultimately get to peace of mind. So, yeah, I could have used the compass then, but I don't think I really was mature enough to be at a place to reflect and appreciate the value of it.
I appreciate the honest answer there. Thank you for that. And I think it's so good to highlight or remind people to keep an open mind, strip out as much contempt prior to investigation as we can. Herbert Spencer's got that great quote about contempt prior to investigation, keeping us in everlasting ignorance.
Yeah.
Anyway, where can people go to connect with you, Deb?
So the best place to find me, I'll give you two places, but there is my website, dropinceo.com. Go to my contact page. You can connect with me there, send me a message. I even got some free things there if you'd like. But also my playground is LinkedIn, Deborah A. Coviello, the Drop-In CEO. Find me on LinkedIn. Let's connect. Let's just get to know each other. I am not out there for sale. I just want to get to know you, impart some insights and knowledge. So my website, dropinceo.com or LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
Amazing, Deb. I will hit stop and we will say goodbye offline. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to belove.media/resources. That's belove.media/resources. And be sure to subscribe, comment, 5-star, and share. Thank you again for listening.